Okay, everybody, we have come to the rooms. For those who haven't joined us, who are watching this at a later date, we have actually had to go to the rooms. I've had to create a room, and I'm just recording the session through my screen record because Facebook's being an arse, to put it politely. How many times did I try going live, Tracy? About five, six
About 5 or
times.
6.
And it wouldn't let me see comments. I could not see comments. People were commenting, but I couldn't see them. So, yeah, I'm probably going to do it this way next week as well, because it'll probably be a lot easier than trying to fight Facebook. Anyway, right. I hope everybody's got pen and paper, because I've got a feeling this is going to be a heavy one like last week. Last week we did Spiritual Awakening, and it got quite intense and quite heavy at some points, didn't it? So, yeah, I have warned you. Right, shadow work. So, what is shadow work? It's about working with your unconscious mind to uncover the parts of yourself that you repress and hide from yourself. It's also referred to as the shadow self. It's all the parts of you that you don't like about yourself, trapped feelings of past trauma, bad traits you don't like about yourself. The shadow self starts to form in childhood. It can stem from being scolded as a child for being outspoken or any kind of trauma. This can manifest into you not being able to express yourself. Childhood abuse can manifest in all different ways. Example, with me in food. Being bullied at school can do the same thing. So I have binge eating disorder, and because of it's between me and my counsellor, we managed to pinpoint why I have this thing with food. So I am working on that. Believe me, I am working on that with my counsellor. We are working on that to try and get right to the bottom of it. So in a way, I am doing shadow work. Working with my shadow self rather than against it. These examples can manifest into eating disorders like overeating and undereating, self-harm, being an abusive spouse, becoming a criminal, anger issues, becoming a narcissist, gaslighting others, being fearful of or resenting outspoken people. The list goes on. So the shadow self, things that happen with your shadow self, it can result in all kinds of things happen. It can manifest in different ways. And obviously, it can manifest into bad ways that, into personality traits that you're not so proud of. Okay. Why do we need to do shadow work? It helps to learn more about who you are. It can help reduce projection when you interact with others, being triggered by other people's traits and quirks, and feel more compassionate towards others. Ignoring your shadow self can lead to self-loathing or poor self-esteem, self-deceit and deceiving others, anxiety and depression, offensive behavior towards others, self-sabotage, self-absorption, in an inflatable ego. These traits often make you feel uncomfortable when you see it in others. You'll start projecting on others the traits you don't like about yourself. As a result of it all, you seem to judge or punish those who reflect your traits. So when you reflect on someone, it means that the traits that you have, you kind of like put it out there, and people kind of like, you kind of like force it on people, and they start picking up on those traits that you force upon them. So it's not something that you do consciously, it's something you do subconsciously. I mean, everybody probably does it. Everybody's done it at some point. But that's just your shadow self's way of trying to get out. Okay. What is the goal of shadow work? One thing to remember is your shadow self isn't a flaw or mistake. It's a part of who you are. Doing shadow work is about developing self-awareness and self-compassion. It can be both therapeutic and spiritual. Exploring your shadow self can help heal and move on. If your shadow is associated with trauma, shadow work helps you to work through your trauma and embrace that part of you. Embrace the part of you that's been suppressed or shamed throughout your life. So shadow work can help you work through traumas. Like with my past, excuse me, I was abused by my uncle, so I still have, things linked to that which which have kind of manifested into traits because I've suppressed it for so long. Because growing up, I wasn't taught to express my emotions. I wasn't taught to express myself. And so when I did have something going wrong, I didn't feel I could talk to anybody. So I just kept it in. And that's manifested into traits of my own, which I do not like about myself. Okay. So benefits of doing shadow work: gain more confidence and self-esteem. You'll be much more confident and be a full version of yourself, balancing your shadow self with your lighter self. Your shadow self is most problematic when you're not aware of that side of yourself. So obviously, it gets to the root of things. It gets to the root of things that you don't like about yourself. It gets to the root of why you do things that. Bless you. Salem's sneezing away over there. So obviously, it helps you gain more confidence, more self-esteem, and it helps you be able to kind of live a little bit more as well. Improve your creativity. Your shadow self can suppress some of your better traits, like creativity. You will have a better chance to embrace it. So like creativity, you will have a better chance to embrace it. Let out your creativity. So like I say, your better traits are suppressed and pushed down and kept from coming to the surface by your shadow self, because this shadow self wants to be heard. It wants to come out. It wants to say, I am here. But because you suppress everything, it blocks other things off, like creativity. Okay, you build better relationships with others. When you can fully love yourself, it's easier to love others. This can be in romantic relationships, friendships, and family. Once you're able to stop with projecting on others, you can see them for who they really are without your influence. So it explains itself really, because when you start noticing the things that you do, you'll think to yourself, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that to people? And then you stop, and then you suddenly realize, actually, these people aren't as bad as I thought, because I'm not projecting on them. I'm not forcing my opinions on them and things like that. So you'll start seeing people who they really are. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but that's, up to you to decide who you keep in your life. Practice self-acceptance. Once you stop with the self-loathing and self-destruction, you can repress your shadow. This can only be done by fully accepting your shadow self and practicing self-awareness. Accepting your shadow means accepting and feeling self-compassion for every aspect of yourself, good and bad. I mean, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, this is one of my traits. I hate doing it. I can't do. People try to blame other things, like people go, oh, I did this because I had childhood trauma. I was this happened to me as a child. That is just an excuse, to be fair. That is just an excuse because they're not worked through their trauma. If you can work through your trauma and you can embrace it and you can accept it, that's when you'll start to feel like, you can love yourself more. Okay. Accepting your shadow self will help you love yourself and accept yourself a little bit more. It may not happen quickly or automatically, but starting on your shadow work journey will open the door to get you there. Okay? Discover hidden talents. Letting go of the shadow self can unleash some hidden talents, or even some old ones which you subconsciously repressed with your shadow self. For instance, when I was with James, Alicia's dad, he told me my drawings were rubbish and would take the piss. So I stopped doing it. I only recently started it back up. I only recently started it back up. I've only done 2 pieces, but Emma influenced me to start up again because she started drawing. So I was just like, I know Justine and Tracy have seen this, but I don't think Laura has. That's one of the drawings I did.
I love that.
Yeah, I know you do, Justine.
It's fantastic.
And that was my second one. So got the tear there as well. Look, that was my second one. Quite proud of that one. Because I drew the heart first. And then I was like, oh, it needs something else. It needs something else. And then I did the rest of it at a later date. So, but yeah, I stopped drawing because he was projecting on me. Because he told me my drawings were rubbish and would take the piss out of me for doing these drawings and that. So I stopped doing it. So be careful what you project on others. Once you allow your creativity to thrive, you will feel better for it. Improve your overall wellness. As shadow work gets to the root of things, you'll realize that a lot of the issues you have were caused by your shadow self. Once you're ready to beat your shadow self, you'll start to realize that which problems are caused by your repressed shadow self. I feel like I'm saying shadow self and shadow quite a lot now, and I'm getting really bored of hearing that from myself. You can take full control of your own wellness. So, it's always good to be able to do this because, like I say, you learn to accept things about you that you couldn't before. You learn to be able to know when you are projecting on people, or when any of your bad habits come out and you're like going, and you consciously go, oh, I shouldn't really be doing this. This is not a good thing for me to be doing. When you consciously realize this and you actually consciously take steps to stop yourself from doing it, that's you working on your shadow self. But once you start doing it consciously, eventually it will just become automatic eventually. But you do have to practice. It's like building new habits. If you're going to be building new habits, it takes time. So doing these things automatically, it will take time, but you just got to keep going at it. It could take, there's no time limit on how to do, on doing shadow work. There's no time limit. You can do it in a week, which is probably too quick, or, it could take months. It could take a couple of years. It just depends on you. And it goes hand in hand with the spiritual awakening that we spoke about last week. Because when you're going through your spiritual awakening, if you think about it, some of the stuff that we talked about last time, that we're, doing your shadow work during that can help you with your spiritual awakening at the same time. So, Justine, you need to, and I know Emma, you both need to be watching that video
Yeah, I will do.
to understand where I'm coming from on that. So when you watch it, you'll go, yes, I can see why she said that when we was discussing spiritual awakening.
I'll rewatch this one too, because as fast as I'm trying to jot things down,
yeah,
there's so much.
That's another good reason for me to be recording this, is so that you can rewatch it, you can pause it, and rewatch, and then you can just press play. You can do it at your own leisure. You could be able to do it yourself when like I say, you can pause it so you can write stuff down, which is always a good reason to rewatch these videos. Okay. Right. Increase compassion towards others. Due to being less... Jesus Christ, Salem!
Has he been round the cinnamon powder?
I think he just fell off the side onto the. There's a suitcase full of mine and Alicia's coats, which we've not unpacked yet. And they keep using it to sit on, and I think Salem fell off the. You got back up now? Are you happy now? You scared the living shit out of me. He don't care. He's a cat. He don't care. Anyway, let's try that again. Increased compassion towards others. Due to being less triggered by other people's or other cats' personality traits, you're less likely to project on others. This may start. You may start to see others as having their own battles to face. So, improving relationships with others, it will help because you can see things clearly. It gives you much more clarity. It gives you more, so you can actually see things more clear than you did before. So have better clarity, like I just said. With the fog being lifted, so to speak, things seem clearer and brighter. This gives a better clarity on your thoughts, emotions, and feelings, and you can be your authentic self. And also, you can control your thoughts and feelings. You'll be able to, you see, if something triggers it, you'll be like, no, I'm not going to be triggered by that. I'm just going to breathe through it. I'm not going to be triggered. I'm not going to react. So, for instance, excuse me, whenever I see my brother, whenever my brother comes over to Lincoln, oh God, I need to stop with a Diet Coke. When my brother comes over to Lincoln, I always dread going to see him, because he does like to take the pee out of me a lot, and he does like to dig at me, and he does like to poke at me. And I always dread it. So it was recently my mum's birthday. I stayed up at Emma's because the meal was like up the hill near her. And so I stayed at Emma's. And Emma will tell you I was dreading it, because both my brother and my mum, I love them both dearly, but they both drain me. So there was like a lot of anxiety there for me. There was a lot of kind of like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go, but I've got to go for my mum's sake and all of this. So, and I went, and surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I feel like I've kind of faced my demons a little bit by making myself go to that family meal. I made myself go to that family meal because it was my mum's 60th birthday. So I made myself go. So yeah, facing up to things that make you anxious, that make you, that make you tense, facing up to it, That's probably the best thing you can do safely, obviously. How to start shadow work. Okay, decide whether to do it with a qualified therapist or on your own. Going through a therapist has the positive of a personalized way of going through it. They will also be able to spot any behavior patterns, changes, or how it's affecting you. They can help give you tools and advice on how to cope with certain aspects and help you deal with any triggers you may uncover. But obviously, this may come at a price. So you can go through, if you really wanted to, you can do it with a therapist. You can do it with someone else, with someone who's qualified. Obviously, I'm not qualified to do that with anybody, but this is just about getting you started and giving you the lowdown on it so then you can decide whether you want to pursue that journey or not. Because once you start with doing shadow work, you can't really stop doing it, because if you stop in the middle of doing it because you can't handle it, you're going to be left with those raw emotions. Those emotions are going to be like an open wound that you can't close. So once you start doing shadow work, you need to commit to keep doing it. I mean, if you have to take a break from it, that's fine, but as long as you go back to it. But it is advised not to quit in the middle of doing it, because you leave open, you're just leaving open wounds out. And what happens to open wounds? They get infected and all that jazz. I won't go into that, but you know what I mean. So going with a therapist has its pros, like I've just said, but the only thing is, there's a cost. Luckily, I've got a really good therapist who works with me about, pricing and things like that. So I'm quite lucky, and her books are almost full as well, bless her. So she's got quite a lot of work, bless her. Okay. Practice spotting your inner shadow. Doing shadow work, it's important to spot your inner shadow. You can start by spotting any habit you may have. Noticing bad habits and any patterns associated with them can help you identify what you feel is holding you back. Pay attention to any triggers which may remind you of past traumas. These will be part of your shadow self. You can also spot your shadow by noticing yourself projecting on others. It may help to write these things down so you can see where the patterns are. So it's basically just being conscious of your actions. Okay, just be conscious of what you do. Be conscious of what your actions. Be conscious of what you do around people, like projecting and things like that. Okay, so you just be conscious about it. But the thing is, people won't notice that you are being conscious of it, because it's all up here. You keep it in mind that you are being conscious about what you do and what you say. People won't notice. It's not going to be like an embarrassing situation or anything. So when you're out and about or you're seeing people, just be conscious of what you're saying to people, how you're saying it. Excuse me? If it's not the cat, it's the dog. If it's not the dog, it's one of the cats. Crying out loud, I can't win, can I? Okay, think back to your childhood. As a child, we're often punished for expressing ourselves. There may have been times when you've been crying and you were told to stop it. Subconsciously, we learned that crying is a bad thing. So then we learn that we have to suppress our emotions as we grow up, believing crying is bad. As adults, we bottle everything up and repress our emotions. We stop communicating with loved ones, which in turn strains our relationships. So often you know, when I was younger, I would be crying for some reason, and then my mum would be like, "Stop crying, otherwise I'll give you something to cry for." And it's like, okay. And if I was too outspoken, it'd be like, Samantha, enough, you know. And then that to me, subconsciously, because children are like sponges and they learn everything as a child. So subconsciously, my brain's going, oh, that's a bad thing, right? Lock that in. And then as you get older, you don't express yourself as much because you were taught as a child that expressing yourself is a bad thing. Like when you get told to stop crying as a child, you grow up thinking that crying is a bad thing. When actually it isn't. It's healthy to cry. It's healthy to cry at things. It's healthy to be able to express your emotions. You know, you don't have to, if you feel like crying, have a cry. If you feel like, punching something, punch a pillow or something, but you just got to let those emotions out and let those emotions just be, because you will get these emotions coming up with shadow work. These emotions will come up, they will come to the surface. And there'll be times when you won't think, oh, I can't do this anymore, I don't want to do this anymore, this is the worst thing ever. But then when you get through it, you think to yourself, yes, I've achieved something, I've got through this, I know what I'm doing, I can do this. So it is always good to try and, try and let the emotions out. Don't be afraid to let your emotions be known, okay? It is healthy. It's not a bad thing, like your inner child thinks. Your inner child would be like, no, you can't do that. We've been taught it's bad to do that. In actual fact, crying is not bad. Being angry, it's not bad. Being outspoken, it's not bad. It's just your personality. So try, obviously, do things a little bit at a time. Don't do it. If you do everything all at once, you will get overwhelmed and you'll want to quit. So do a little bit at a time, just like little baby steps. Little baby steps is better than nothing. Okay. So just remember that baby steps are better than nothing. Right. Avoid shaming or being ashamed of your shadow. It has been said that your shadow longs for acceptance, but in reality, your shadow self is you. We often long to feel whole, but don't understand why. This is because you haven't embraced your shadow self as part of you. You reject the bad stuff and concentrate on your good side. Having compassion for yourself helps to accept your shadow. You may want to practice some loving words like affirmations towards yourself and your shadow. Examples: I trust in you. I believe in you. I'm glad you're in my life. You are worthy of love. You are enough. You deserve to be happy. And you have a lot to offer. So being kind to your shadow self. Just saying to your shadow self, you are accepted, you are loved, you are enough. That will start to help your shadow just let up a bit more, because obviously that's what's repressing your true emotions. So it will start to let up a bit more, it will start to ease up a bit more. So it's all about being kind to yourself and being kind to your shadow. Meditate to observe your triggers. Notice the triggers which stir up your emotions. You can meditate on them. You can meditate on this trigger and emotion, so you can step back and observe what's happening without being judgmental towards yourself. Allow yourself to have any emotions that may come up. So you come across a trigger, you're out and about in life, someone does something that triggers an emotion in you. Someone, might be telling off a child for being a brat. That might trigger something from your childhood when you've been told off for some one reason or another. So what you do is later on when you get home, meditate on that trigger, meditate on it, and just try and figure out how you can make peace with it, how you can, look at the situation and think to yourself, how would I feel? How can I make it so I feel better about myself so it doesn't trigger these memories? It doesn't make me feel crap. Okay? Like it says, allow yourself to have any emotions that come up. So, if you're meditating on these triggers that's, from your childhood or from an abusive relationship or, from a toxic work environment or whatever is being triggered, meditating on it and looking at it from outside of that situation. Think about what you can do to help yourself feel better, just it's hard to describe. But don't judge yourself for feeling like that. Okay, don't judge yourself for feeling like that. Okay, sometimes these things happen in life. You witness things that you didn't want to witness, but you got to make peace with that. And don't judge yourself too harshly. Don't judge yourself at all, because that just feeds into the shadow self, judging yourself, making yourself feel, calling yourself all sorts of names because this happened and that happened. So don't judge yourself for feeling those emotions that are triggered. Meditate on them and think about how you can avoid being triggered if it happens again. Right. Keep a shadow journal. Doing this, you can express yourself during the process of shadow work. Write about your thoughts, light and dark. So it doesn't just have to be about the dark side. It could be both. Oh, I did this today and I'm happy about it. Or this happened and I'm not so good. I don't feel so good about it. Anything. Write it down in a shadow journal. Write about whatever comes to mind without overthinking it. It may feel uncomfortable, but it's important to let your shadow self have a voice. Try writing daily in your shadow journal. So yeah, you need to let your shadow self have a voice. And giving your shadow self a voice, it's a part of accepting it. Okay, that's the first stage. That's one of the things that helps you accept your shadow self, is giving that shadow self a voice by writing in your shadow journal. So it would be good, just get a nice notebook where you can write in it and write how you're feeling today and write how, what bad traits came up and how you felt about those bad traits. Okay? Express your inner shadow through art. Some people prefer to express their emotions through art therapy. You can even do both journaling and art therapy together if that's what you want to do. So, you just have a book. Like I say, you have your notebook, you do some writing. Then the next day you might think, oh, I'll do some drawing. So you do some drawing the next day, draw something, whatever you're feeling like, however you're feeling. Do some drawing or whatever. It doesn't have to be really good. It doesn't have to be amazing. But draw what you're feeling, how you feel. Just go with it. Okay? Don't overthink it. Don't sit there and go, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Well, yeah, and you start messing about with it. Just do what comes to mind. First thing that comes to your mind. How do you, say to your shadow self, how are we feeling today? What's going on today? How are we going to express that? And the first thing that comes to mind, that is how your shadow self wants to be expressed. Okay. But Justine may remember this conversation. Me and Justine were texting after she saw my picture, and she asked me about what this one meant.
Yeah.
Can you remember that, Justine?
Yeah, I can.
And I said something along the side of, it represents how I feel about relationships, about romantic relationships. My heart's been broken, it's been battered, it's been bruised, it's been all sorts, it's been through all sorts. So
I could see it was about heartbreak.
yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I feel about being in a relationship right now.
And
So you could say that I was doing shadow work without even realizing it.
your eyes are the window to your soul.
Definitely, they are, aren't they? So, like in my eyes, relationships just represent heartbreak and heartache and being battered and bruised and having your heart in a sling. That was what we came up with, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So
I can
you never know.
identify with
But the thing is, you never know. I may, that may change in years to come. That may change. But right now, I need to work on myself before I think about a relationship. So I know that. And once you realize that, once you realize something like that, then you come to the conclusion of, yes, I do know what I need. I do know what I need to do. And you'll be able to express yourself authentically in a relationship. You'll be able to be authentic, your authentic self. So it does help. It does help in romantic ways. Oh dear. Right, where was we? You can do both journaling and art therapy together if that's what you want to do. Creating art can be from your light side or dark side. So as per my drawing, that came from my dark side because that came from my shadow. Didn't realize it at the time, but when I was writing this up, I was like, hang on a minute. I was doing this without even thinking about it. So, you never know, when you look back, you might think to yourself, oh, yes, I actually did that. So that's part of shadow work, So you may find you've already done some elements of shadow work. So you can build upon that. You can use whichever medium you choose. This can be painting, sculpture, singing, dancing, digital art, music, drawing, or anything you want. Allow your emotions to flow through you as you create your art piece. Express how you're feeling at that time and don't be afraid to be spontaneous with it. Just create what your inner self wants to create at the time. So, like I said, don't overthink it. Just, let the pen or pencil do its thing. Okay? Whatever you decide to do, just don't overthink it. Just go for it. Be spontaneous. Okay? Start an inner dialogue. Having a conversation with your inner self can help you learn more about how to move forwards. Ask your shadow questions and wait for an answer. I've done something similar in the past and got some interesting conversation from it. I was in a writing group, and it was to do with our chronic illness. It was a group of us. We've all got chronic illnesses. And the exercise was to sit quietly with a pen and paper and write down what question you're asking. Obviously in your mind, don't do it out loud. Just write down the question and then write down the answers. So I asked my chronic illness, I can't remember the exact words, but I was like, why are you here? Why are you doing this to me? And it was something like, oh, you've got to learn. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. So I wrote it down, and it turned out that my chronic illness was quite sarcastic and quite dark. So looking back now, while I was writing this up, looking back, I realised that my shadow self is part of it's kind of like seeped into my chronic illness. So it's kind of making it worse, so to speak. and it's thriving on my pain. My shadow self was thriving on my pain. That's what I thought when I was writing this up. I did a lot of self-reflection while writing all this up. I did a lot of self-reflection. So I was like, wow, if this is what it's doing to me while I'm writing it up and researching it, I'm hoping that it helps you guys. So yeah, it's you may feel a bit stupid doing it, but just sit quietly and say, just like, I want to talk to my shadow self, and then you talk in your mind, write down questions that you want to ask him. So write down the questions like, how are you feeling today? And then wait for an answer. And usually it's the first thing that comes to mind. Your shadow self might say, I feel repressed. And then like, why do you feel repressed? And then just have this conversation, but keep writing it down in your shadow journal. Do you get what I mean?
Could you use a pendulum with that, Sam? You reckon or not?
I wouldn't use a pendulum with that, because you're dealing with sides of yourself that you wouldn't want. You don't want to deal. The shadow self is things that you don't want to deal with, and dealing with negative stuff. You may not get a proper response, a true response from a pendulum. I would say, this is something that use your intuition as well. I would use your, do some intuitive work with your shadow self, but I wouldn't use anything else. I wouldn't use like tarot or a pendulum. I wouldn't use anything like that. Just use your intuition and have this conversation with them, with your shadow self, because like I say, you're working with negative energy, you're trying to purge this negative energy out of you, and pendulum may not give you the right answer, the answer that you need. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, use your intuition. Obviously, we covered intuition on week 3, didn't we? We covered intuition on week 3. So if you need to, you can go back to that video, and you can go back to that video and rewatch it, and then try it again if you wanted to, but that's up to you. But I would say just using your intuition, just sit there and have a conversation with your shadow self and see what you get. Okay.
Should you ground yourself before you
Yes.
do it?
Yes, I would say ground yourself. Because this is the work that you do in shadow work is very intrusive. It can be very intrusive, and like I say, it can bring all these emotions up, anger, resentment, sadness. You end up crying, you end up, there's all kinds of mixed emotions that will come up. So you need to keep yourself grounded. I would advise to keep yourself grounded whilst doing it. Okay.
Yep.
And also with you releasing any negative stuff, any negative entities will try latching onto that negative energy as well. So you don't want any attachments through that. So ground yourself and protect yourself through, that the grounding exercise that I did with you in week 1, that's grounding and protecting. Because
So it's not as though, sorry, it's not as though you're protecting you from yourself. It's you protecting you from other things trying to latch on as you're trying to, like, make peace with yourself.
Definitely, yes, because you're trying to purge this negativity out of you, and that's what doing the shadow work's about, trying to get rid of all this bad stuff, because obviously it's repressed, and depending on how much has been repressed will depend on how long it takes for you to purge it. And while you're doing that, negative entities will sense where the negative energy is coming from and will try to latch onto you. So because you're leaving yourself open. aren't you? You're opening yourself up when you're doing it. So ground and protect yourself, because obviously when I do that, when I did that grounding exercise with you, and where the part where you cover yourself in that golden bubble, that is your protection. Okay, the golden bubble that envelops you, that is your protection. So the grounding is when you're anchored to the center of the earth, and then your protection is when you put that bubble around you. Okay, so make sure that you do ground yourself. I mean, it might be worth grounding yourself like every, when you get up in the morning, as soon as your feet hit the floor, do your grounding, do some grounding as soon as you wake up. You could do that. Get into a routine of doing that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I would say keep yourself grounded and protected. Okay, in the dialogue, where are we? Yeah. Take note of what you ask and the answers you get. The first thing that comes to mind is your answer. So trust, with the first thing that comes to mind, trust that is the answer. So it's again, trusting in your intuition to have this conversation. Okay. Right. I've got quite a big list of shadow work prompts. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these shadow work prompts in a post on the group. Okay. But I'm going to go through them. And if you have any questions about any of them, if you're not sure about something, you can just ask. And then I'll put them up because there's quite a lot of them. And then you can have a look yourself. Okay. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Shadow work prompts. How do you believe people see you? How would they describe you to others? And how does that make you feel? So obviously, people have views about you, and obviously they go and talk, and they talk to other people. And if they get to talking about you, what would they say about you? What do you think they would say about you? Okay. How would they describe you? What do you think they would say about you? Okay. And also write down how that makes you feel. And then when you look at that, look at your answer, you can ponder on it and you think, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you need to work on that? Do you need to work on relationships with people? So that's a good thing to do too, so you can figure out whether you need to work on your relationships with other people or not. What are the worst?
I'm going to have to catch you later, Sam, because I've got a doggy that needs to do her usual.
Okie dokie. I'll see you in a bit then.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Right. What are the worst traits someone can have according to you? Okay. And when have you demonstrated these traits yourself? So it's about relating to other people. What traits do you find, unbearable in other people? What don't you like about other people? And have you in the past, have you ever, demonstrated these traits that you don't like so much? Okay. And that will obviously get you thinking about your own traits. What tends to make you judgmental towards others? Again, we're talking about triggers. What triggers you to be judgmental towards others? I mean, I say to people that, I'm not judgmental of other people. I don't judge a book by its cover. And I know everybody has a story. Everybody has a way, has their way of living, blah, blah, blah. But if I look back, I could probably find times when I was being judgmental towards others, when I was judging people, when I was like sat there going, yeah, she shouldn't be wearing that because that makes her look like she's got her ass hanging out or whatever, that is, being judgmental. So what tends to make you judgmental towards others. What memories are you ashamed of? So is there something in the past that you did and it's a strong memory, it's in your mind, you can't start, you can't erase that memory and you're really ashamed of what you did. Okay. I do have a couple. And it's about working through it, writing it down and go, right, how do I feel about that? How do I feel about, depending on how many years has passed, how do I feel about that? How am I going to forgive myself for that? So this one is about forgiving yourself, forgiving your shadow self, forgiving you for what you did. Who do you envy and why? That's always a good one, because if you're envious of someone, that ends up turning to jealousy, and then you end up judging them for what they do. So is there someone that you're envious of? And why are you envious of them? Now, this next one is a good one. Write a letter to the person who's hurt you the most in your life and tell them everything you'd like to say. Now, for me, it would be my Uncle Dickhead, the one who abused me as a child. I would want to write, I'd write a letter to him. Why did you do this? Because you did this, this now happens in my life. I can't live my life normally because you did this to me. Tell them everything you've ever wanted to say to them. If you write it as a letter to them in your shadow work diary, and you will feel better for it afterwards. Before I found out about my dad, before I got into contact with my dad's family, I was very angry at my dad, and I wrote a letter to him in my journal, saying, "Why did you abandon us? Why did you do this to us? Why did you do that to us? What was going on?" But now I found out the truth about my dad. I can understand why she did what she did. So at some point when I'm ready, I've got to write a letter to my dad, telling her how I feel about her transitioning, how I feel about the fact that she never tried to contact us because she was fearful of, I think she feared that I wouldn't accept her because the family disowned her. So she thought that I wouldn't. That's my theory.
Your dad was one of your spirit guides?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
She works with me quite a lot.
Right.
But she's I now live with the regret of not trying to find my dad myself. It's all right. She could have tried, but at the same time, I could have tried. But I was so wrapped up in my hatred for her because she abandoned us and she didn't let us know what was going on, and I felt abandoned by her. I let that hate stop me from trying to contact her. And now I live with that regret now. And obviously that's something that I have to deal with myself. That's part of my shadow self now, and that's something I have to deal with. You may have something, when you write a letter to someone, who has hurt you in, the one that's hurt you the most in your life, you will start getting all these feelings. You'll start getting all these feelings stirring up, thinking, why did you do this? You did this and it hurt me so bad. And it does get you going. You'll probably find that you will cry. I'm trying not to cry right now because I've got makeup on and I know it will just go and I'll look like I've got panda eyes. So, but yeah, write a letter in your shadow diary about, to them, telling them everything that you ever wanted to say to them. Obviously,
whether they're alive or dead.
Sorry?
Whether they're alive or dead.
Yeah. It's about getting that emotion out. It's about purging that. It's about purging that emotion. It's about purging your feelings about what that person did to you. That's what it's more about. Like I said, obviously my dad's passed, but I still have to write a different letter. Now that I know the truth, now that I know why she never got in contact with us, I feel bad for writing that letter beforehand. Obviously, at the time, I was going off what I knew, but I felt, and now I know exactly what happened. I feel bad for writing that letter. So for me, I need to write another letter to my dad, and
Do you think we ever truly heal our shadow selves?
I don't think you will be able to heal them 100%. You're always going to have a shadow self, because that's part of you. You're always going to have the shadow self a part of you, because obviously you need a balance of light and dark. It's all about the yin and the yang, masculinity and femininity. It's all about balance. So you're still going to have part of your shadow self, because that helps you. That helps you with your personality and that. But I would say I don't think you'll ever 100% get rid of it, because obviously you need it there, but not as much as you may have it now. I mean, like I say, a lot of people repress their feelings because of something that happened in childhood. So repressing things has made you maybe turn better about things, about certain aspects of your life, because you're repressing the memories, you're repressing your emotions, and you're still going to have these emotions about things, but you'll have made peace with them. They'll still be there in your shadow self, but you will have accepted them. It's about accepting what has happened. It's about accepting that side of you and not repressing things, and being able to express yourself more. Because when you repress things, you don't really express yourself as much as you probably would, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Do you think shadow selves can come down through past lives?
No. No, it's shadow self develops, like I said, it develops from childhood, and your shadow self changes and evolves as you grow up into adulthood, and things happen in your adulthood which cause you to repress things even more. So it is to do with your personality, I would say. That's my belief. That's what I believe.
Is that separate to past life trauma then?
Yeah, I would say it would be different. It says different to past life trauma, because like I say, past life trauma doesn't stem from what you're going through now.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So shadow self is very much you, the unique you.
Yes.
Whereas past life trauma is those traumas, whether it's from slavery or witchcraft or whatever, that's come down as part of a culture that's inherited that
I get
way.
what you're saying, but the shadow self is your personality, is a part of your personality.
Right, got you.
Yeah. Okay. What frightens you the most? What are some ways you can safely expose yourself to this fear? I mean, obviously, I said earlier about, I get anxious when I have to go and be with my brother because of things that's been done in the past, and obviously I went to that family meal for my mum's 60th birthday, and I actually was dreading it and all of that. And when I got there, I didn't have to worry. I was worrying and my anxiety was sky high for no reason. So it's about slowly letting yourself experience these things, because normally they're not as bad as you're thinking. These fears, they're not as bad as you think they are. So slow baby steps again. find a way of being able to safely face your fear, expose yourself to this fear. Okay? What emotions typically bring out the worst in you? Why do you think this happens? So again, we're talking about, so if you get triggered by something and an emotion comes out and it makes you like a horrible person, and it brings, like I said, brings the worst out of you. What emotion does that to you? And why do you think it happens? So, it's a lot of questioning yourself. It's questioning yourself. Why do you think this happens? When was the last time you self-sabotage? How were you feeling at the time? And what do you think triggered this behavior? So when your shadow self is very prominent in your life, you do tend to sabotage your own life. And then you go, oh, it happened because so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. Well, actually, no, being your own worst enemy, you self-sabotage. Okay. So how did that make you feel at the time? And why do you think this triggered that particular behavior? Okay. Which friendships make you feel safe and secure? Which ones no longer serve you? When I say no longer serve you, it's kind of which ones, have a negative impact on you. Which friendships make you feel like crap? Do you want to keep them in your life if they make you feel like crap? It's always good to have friendship, have friendships that are safe and secure, that you can talk to them and it's not going to go further. It's not going to do this. You can trust them, basically. And which friends can you not trust? All right. So look at your friendships, because that has an effect on you as well. What they do, what they say, that has an effect on you. So if you've got a friend that's negative all the time, they're going to project their negativity onto you and make you feel negative. So you need to figure out which friendships you want to keep close and which ones you want to distance yourself from or even cut out completely. So that's something that you can do. I did that quite a few years ago, actually, quite a few years ago. I got rid of a load of friends. I distanced myself from a lot of friends who were just negative all the time, and that made me feel like crap. And the energy vampires that drained me and made me feel like I was, made me feel like I needed a nap after seeing them. So,
Sam, if when people treat you badly, they're treating you like that because of their shadow self.
Yes, it's like their shadow self is they're projecting onto you.
Right.
And obviously, when they project onto you, it makes you feel like what they're feeling.
Right. Oh, that explains a lot.
And when you project on others, they'll feel the same way. So it's about you not projecting on them and them not projecting on you.
Yeah.
Hence, the friendship that makes you feel safe and secure. Which friends of yours makes you feel like you can say anything to them and they're not going to project on you? Yeah?
Yeah, I get you now.
Sam?
Yeah?
You asked us a question earlier that we were to look at, and that was if you spoke to your friends or people that know you and asked them what they thought of you, and you write down, supposing those people fall into the category of the answers that they give you depends on the sort of person they are.
Yeah.
So it may not be 100% correct.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with other people. With that first one that I said about, what do you believe people see? How do you believe people see you?
Yeah.
It's your opinion you know, you look at your own personality, and it's your opinion. What do you think people see in you?
Right. So you're not actually going and asking people.
No, you don't have to go and ask them. It's like this is about you trying to explore yourself. It's about exploring your own traits, your own personality.
But also what you already know of what they think of you. You can judge whether you think they're right or wrong, depending on the journey that they're on in their life and how they are.
Yeah, but the thing is, with that, you've got to look at your own journey. This is about being, you know, doing things for yourself. This is about doing stuff for yourself, and this is about being able to think about what people think of you and how they describe you to others. I mean, they might turn around to someone and say, oh, you know, two people might turn around to one person and go, oh, we don't think that she's a very good friend. She's not a very good person. But in actual fact, you are. So you look at each individual person and you think to yourself, well, what would they say about me? Judging on the interactions that you've had with them. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Kind of.
What don't you understand?
Well, depending on the type of friendship you have with them, if you have a really good friendship with someone, they're going to say probably some complimentary thing about you. But if you've had a friendship with someone where you've had a disagreement, but you get on again, their opinion of you may differ.
And yeah, but the people that you've had a disagreement with and they have a different opinion of you, they're the ones you've got to be careful of. So you go through your friends, you think, well, what would they say about me behind my back? What would they say about me behind my back? And what would they, you know, you go through and you think to yourself, well, what would they say behind my back? And then you've got to sit there and think about whether that's a friendship that you want to you know, keep going with, or whether you want to kind of distance yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that ties in with the last one that you said.
Yeah, it does. It does. So, you're okay with that, Christine?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Right. What is something you wish other people understands about you? So, if there's something about you that people don't understand, people don't quite get, and you wish they did. I mean, for me, you know, I wish there was more people that understood that, you know, my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I wish there was more people who understood about that, because then maybe they would treat me differently and go, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, you know, and they would understand that when, you know, if I'm really ill and I have to counsel on them. Some people get pissy about it, but some people, you know, they understand, like, don't worry about it. We'll just sort it out for another time. Don't worry about it. Because there's been times I've been invited to like a party or something, and I've declined because I've not been very well. And they've never invited me again because I've declined. So those kind of people, what do you wish they would understand about you? Yeah? Okay. What are some lies you have previously told yourself? Okay. What are some lies you have previously told yourself? I mean, they could be like little white lies, or they could be something big. But you've got to kind of think to yourself, you know, what have I told myself that's not, you know, what am I believing? I've told myself something, but it's not right. A lot of people do that to make themselves feel better. but that just adds to your shadow self because you're not being true to yourself. So it's about, what are some lies you previously told yourself. So it's about being true to yourself. Okay, being open and honest with yourself. Okay, you understand that?
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Next. What's your worst memory from childhood? What is the worst character trait that you have as a result of this memory or event from your childhood? So something's happened in your, something happened as a kid, and it's affected how it's affected your personality. Like for me, trying to give an example. Right, for me, when I was working at McDonald's years and years and years ago, before Alicia was born. Going back to 2000 now, so almost 23 years ago, I started at McDonald's. And my biggest fear was, if I was on till, my biggest fear was looking up and seeing my Uncle Dickhead right in front of me. That was in my mind. Every time I went on till, every time I served customers, that was the fear I had. So that affected the way I worked. That's affected how I thought. And, when I moved about, when I had different jobs, every time I had a customer-based job, it was like, what if he turns up? What if he turns up at my till? So, is there is there something from your childhood that's affected the way you do things, and it's affected your personality, it's affected who you are? And bringing that up again is purging those emotions, purging all of that, getting rid of it and letting it out, letting it go out free, and letting it and just accepting that this has happened. It's part of my personality, but this has happened to me. It's about accepting it and making peace with it. Like I said earlier, you're always going to have that shadow self, and that, that part of your childhood is always going to be part of your shadow self. But the difference is you've learned to accept it. You've learned to live with it. You've learned to be able to live alongside it, rather than repressing it and trying to forget about it.
How about changing it? Changing the trait it's left you with?
Yeah, that may help. That may happen. If when you think about these things, when you're trying to when you're purging all these emotions around that memory, it may change that trait about you. It may change that thing about you, about what you do. And for me, I'm still worried about, when I'm going around town in Lincoln, I turn a corner and Uncle Dickhead might be there. At the moment, I don't know whether he's live or dead. No one in my family knows whether he's live or dead. And I was talking to Gareth, my cousin, and I was telling him, once somebody tells me that he's passed away, I can finally breathe. I will be able to finally breathe. I'll be able to, I'll be able to release all that emotion. I think if somebody said to me, oh, he's passed away, I think that I think that, I'll be emotional. It would just help. I would probably just release everything, if you get what I mean. So
I do, because my stepdad's passed, and
yeah,
you know the story.
Yeah, I do. So thinking about your childhood, writing it down, and when you make peace with it, when you accept it, it's like, yes, this is a part of me. This happened to me. How am I going to, you've got to decide whether you want to let it control you or whether you want to stop that control and move on from it. So making peace with it will stop it from controlling you, stop it from controlling what you do. Like if I made peace with what happened to me, I think I would be a lot better. Everything will feel a lot better and a lot lighter, and I'd be a lot happier. So that would change me for a start. So, it's good to kind of like think about things from your childhood and working through it. Yeah. Because it's sometimes people, like I say, sometimes people let it control them. What happened to them as a child? They let it control them. They let it manifest into something that's really not nice. I mean, like I said earlier, people turn to, people end up with anger issues, or they end up being like abusive partners, or they turn into narcissists and things like that. That's because they've got that trauma. They're letting that trauma, they're letting that bad stuff inside them. They're letting that control them. So it's about letting, taking away the control from that memory and saying, yes, it happened. I make peace with it. I can deal with this. I know what happened, and I know how it made me feel. And when you accept it, you'll probably find that, that certain trait will change. It will evolve. Well, it will evolve. Probably a better way of putting it. Yeah. Okay. What are your parents' best character traits, and what are their worst? So doing this, it may explain things about how you grew up. So say if you was always told off for being too outspoken, or for being cheeky all the time and things like that, if you're being told off for that all the time, and that relates to a trait of one of your parents, that'll explain things. Excuse me. So what are your parents' best character traits, and what are their worst? Because their character traits will be projected onto you, especially as a child. Yeah? How do you feel when drama occurs? As most people know, I don't deal with drama. Okay? If somebody's got drama around them, I stay out of it. Unless it involves me directly, or if it involves Alicia, then I will get involved and I will say my piece, and I will, I don't, especially when it involves Alicia, I don't, I go into mama bear mode when it comes to Alicia, like when she was being bullied for being gay. When she was at school, she was being bullied for being gay. And the first thing I did, the next day I went down, I took 2 buses to go to her school. And I was like, I want to see someone. I'm not leaving until I speak to someone. So they sent the head of year down to come and speak with me. And I told her exactly what happened and what Alicia told me. And it got sorted. So, and how did I feel about that? I mean, I felt proud that I was able to sort it for her. I was like, yes, I've done it. I've achieved what I wanted, But when she first told me, I was angry, because it is essentially a hate crime. And I felt angry that this person was bullying my child because of something that she can't help, So, I felt proud that I could do that. And I was, I was happy with the outcome, but at first it made me angry. So, it's about, so when drama occurs, think about how it makes you feel. What emotions do you have? So again, it's about purging those emotions from your body, from your shadow self. Okay. Okay. What makes you self-conscious? Okay. Then, everybody is self-conscious about something. I would say for me, it's my disability, my mobility issues. That makes me very self-conscious, because I don't want people to see me and have pity on me. That's not what it's about. I don't want other people's pity. I don't want other people's kind of, oh, sorry, da. And also, it affects me when I'm dating. I mean, I once dated a guy. He came round and was going to go to the shop, was just going to pop to the shop to get some, I think we're just going to get some alcohol or something. I don't know, I can't remember what it was. We went to the shop for something. And I picked up my stick and he goes, do you actually really need that? And I was like, yeah, I do need that. He was like, oh, right. And anyway, we walked to the shop, which is just around the corner, up at my old place, it was just around the corner. And he was always one step ahead of me. He wouldn't walk beside me. He walked one step ahead of me. It was like he was ashamed to be with me because I was in my 30s and I walked with a stick. And that experience has made me very self-conscious about my disability and my mobility. So again, that's something else that I've got to sort out. I've got to sort out with myself. That's something I've got to think about. So, what makes you feel self-conscious? How does that make you feel? Okay. What makes you feel unsafe? Okay. That could be a lot of things. So what makes you feel unsafe? Who do you currently have a grudge against? Why do you think you aren't letting go? Again, for me, I think it's my Uncle Dickhead. And I'm finding it, I know I need to let go of it. I know I need to make peace with it, but I've been finding it very difficult. And I've been told by quite a few spiritual kind of people saying, you've got to let go. You've got to let go. I know I've got to let go. I've got to let it go. But I'm finding it hard. So, think about who you don't like, who you have a grudge of. Well, not so much a grudge. Think about who you don't want to have in your life. Someone who, just is just not right to have in your life. Think about that and think about why you can't let go of that. And obviously, I'm guessing you all know why I can't let go of my grudge against my uncle. Speaks for itself. But why do you think you aren't letting go of it? So that's again exploring your emotions, exploring your shadow self about who you don't like. Okay, it's about exploring that and bringing those emotions up and letting them out. And again, trying to make peace with it. Okay. Who's let you down the most in life? Who's let you down the most in life? There are, people let you down all the time. You go through life, people let you down, and, it's shit when it happens. And then, you have to rush around trying to sort things out to cover for them letting you down. But sometimes people let you down, and it's not a small thing, and it's a life-changing thing. For me, obviously, it would be the fact that my dad was never there for us. We always felt abandoned. So, who's let you down in your life? Write about that. Write about how you feel about it, how you feel about them as a person. Okay? Okie dokie. What makes you feel the most valued? What makes you feel good? What makes you feel like, you are someone? It's like, what makes you feel like, yes, somebody likes me. Somebody knows that I'm good at something. Feeling good, feeling valued. Someone who wants you there. That's always a good thing. When people want you there, they'll ask you to be there. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel good? Does it make you feel nervous? And again, it also depends on who it is that's making you feel the most valued as well. Because obviously family and friends and intimate relationships, they're all different. You have all different things. But what makes you feel the most valued? Describe a trait you see in others that you wish you had for yourself. Why do you not have this trait? This is a good one. So, other people have all these personality traits and quirks, and you think, oh, I love that about them. Why can't I be like that? So why can't, explore why you can't be like that? What's holding you back? What's holding you back? What obstacle is causing you to not have that trait? What's causing you to not have something that you really want? Okay, that's again, that's a good one to explore. What are your personal core values, and why are those values important to you? So everybody has their own kind of like life rules in that. So, one of mine is, if you treat me like shit, you're out. One of my core values is, you treat me with respect, I treat you with respect. So that's one of my core values. Okay. And why is that important to me? Because I don't want, when people don't treat me with respect, it hurts. So what are your personal core values, and why are those values important to you? What were your parents' or guardians' core values when you were a child? And how do your own values differ from those of your parents or guardians? So what were the things that, their life rules when you were growing up? What were their life rules? I mean, if you don't know, then obviously you don't have to answer the question. But just go and maybe even if it's just one that you know of, just write about that. Okay. And how does it differ from you? How does it differ from your life? Tongue twisted there. How does it differ from your life rules? At what moments in your life have been the hardest on yourself, and why? Now, for me, it was when James was diagnosed with cancer. I would have been, hang on, trying to think how old I would have been. Oh, God. About 24. I would have been about 24 years old. And he would have been 25. And so, yeah, when he was diagnosed, I had to run the house. I had to make sure Alicia was fed and clothed and bathed and everything else. I had to sort out the cats that we had at the time. I had to do everything, as well as go up to the hospital for the whole day. 2 buses up there with a toddler, hang around the hospital, because Alicia was only 2 at the time. She was only 2 years old at the time. Hang around the hospital for the whole day, and then taking 2 buses back home. And then when I get back home, there's no break for me. I have to sort Alicia out, get her tea, get her bath, get her in bed, sort her, and then I have to do the housework, sort the animals out. It was just never ending for me, and I found that really difficult. I found it really difficult to cope. Not once did anybody ask me, how are you coping, Samantha? My mum would say Samantha, but everyone else would say Sam. Not even my own mum would say, how are you coping, Samantha? No one was asking me, how are you coping, Sam? Because I wasn't coping. I struggled. Those 6 months that he was in hospital, I struggled. And not once did anyone ask me how I was feeling and how I was doing. So those days were hard on me. Everyone was asking, oh, how's James doing? How's James doing? How's James doing? I was like, oh, yeah, I'd tell them what was going on. Oh, he's had this done. He's had this treatment. He's had that treatment, whatever. But I always put on a face. I always put on this mask of like, yes, I'm okay. I'm good. But nobody asked me. I think if at least one person said, how are you doing, Sam? I probably would have broken down. Looking back at that time in my life, I probably would have broken down and gone, I'm not coping. So that for me was the hardest part of my life. So, so with this, obviously think about what the hardest part of your life was. And obviously, if you're going through the hardest part of your life, write about it, write what's happening, write what's going on. how it's affecting you, how you feel about it. Okay? We're almost done. Got 3 more of this list, and yeah, we're almost done. Got 2 sides. We're not almost done, just got that side and that side to do. So we're almost done. So, how do you define failure? How does failing make you feel? Are you afraid of failure? If so, why? I mean, it's always good to think about failure because, it's a part of life. You're not going to be able to do everything, just right. You're going to fail at a few things because you can't do everything. You're just one person. You can't do everything. So how do you feel when how do you define failure? What makes it a failure? And how does it make you feel when you do fail? Okay. And also, obviously some people are, there's people out there who are afraid of failure. So if you're afraid of failure, why? If so, why are you afraid of it? Why are you afraid that that you're going to fail at something? What will happen if you fail at something? And how does that make you feel? Okay. So again, it's all about bringing up those emotions, bringing up those feelings and purging them and letting them out. Okay. What do you do with your time when you're bored? And what do you enjoy doing? So this is about, evolving yourself to doing things. When you're bored, I mean, when I'm bored, I play games on my phone. I just play games on my phone. Hello, Laura. So I play games on my phone. So this is about bringing the joy out. Because obviously with your shadow self, it represses a lot of things, and that includes repressing things that you enjoy doing. So this is about bringing up what you enjoy doing and trying to figure out what you want to do when you're bored, and not let your shadow self repress it anymore. Okay, similar to what I talked about when it comes to creativity. Okay, well, so when your shadow self represses that creativity, you don't want to do anything like that. But once you've let it go, all of that comes out. So what's repressing, what interests and hobbies are being repressed because of your shadow self?
Does shadow self thrive on boredom then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, what it is, because like I said, shadow self will repress all the good things. It tries to repress the good things in your life. So like hobbies and interests that you enjoy doing, your shadow self will be repressing that. Like me with the drawing, James said that my drawings were crap and would take the piss out of it and all of that. So my shadow self repressed that. And that's something I used to enjoy doing when I was bored. But working with my shadow self, I'm bringing, it's coming back up. So slowly my shadow self is, is actually on the move, and it's actually, and things aren't being repressed as much as they used to be, because I'm starting, obviously I've done some drawing. I want to do some more drawing, but I've got to be in the right frame of mind for it when I'm not feeling so crappy or when I've not got things to do. But yeah, that's what it more is. Like I say, your shadow self will repress things that you enjoy, the good things in life. And it's about bringing them back up and letting them shine, letting what your interests and hobbies shine. So when you're bored, what do you want to do? What would you like to do that you haven't done or you haven't done in a long time? What do you want? Yeah? Laura?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I turned my mic off, sorry. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Right. And lastly, are there negative emotions you try to avoid, and why? People tend to avoid the negativity because they don't like it. But again, it's about balance. Positive and negative, you've got to balance them. Like I was saying earlier about balancing your light and the dark side. It's like the yin and the yang, masculine and feminine, all of that. In the same way, you've got to balance the positive and negative. I mean, it's good to have the negative emotions because it helps you express yourself when you're in a situation you don't like. If you're in a situation you don't like, the negative emotions will come up and it will express you express what you really feel. That's why you still need that shadow side, because the negative side will, it's good for helping you express yourself. Okay. So right about that, the negative emotions you try to avoid, why do you avoid them? Why do you not let them come out? Why do you bury them so deep? Why do you let your shadow self repress those negative emotions? Are you scared of what might happen? Are you scared if you're doing it in front of people? Are you scared that their opinions of you will change? So there's a lot to unpack with that one as well. There's quite most of these, there's a lot to unpack with. So I will, so like I say, I will put all of these up on a post in the group, so then you can have a look at them and have a go at answering them. You don't have to do them all at once. Just do like one a day, one a week, one every couple of days, whenever you feel like it, whenever you're ready to. But what I would say is, when you do write about these things, do it in your shadow journal. Find a notebook that you can use for a shadow journal and write it in there. Write everything down. And you'll find that a lot of things will come up that you didn't know were there. Emotions and ideas and creativity and, everything will start coming up, but let it flow. Don't let it suppress it. Let it come out. So, at one point you could be bawling your eyes out while you're writing. That's okay, because you are expressing yourself. Right that you're all crying your eyes out. Right that you can't see because your eyes are so flooded with tears. Write that in your journal. It's about, shadow work is about expressing every emotion that you have in your body and not letting, not pushing things down, letting it all out. Okay. And if there's a lot to let out, then you may find that you're purging your emotions quite a lot. You may get emotional for the slightest thing, but just know that that is healthy. Okay. It is healthy to do that. And if it does happen, write about it. Write in your shadow journal about it. You go, well, today this happened and it made me feel like this. And now I can't stop crying because of this, this, and this. Okay. I mean, once you write it down, you don't have to show it to anyone. It is more for your records. So then when, you may be, you can look back and see how far you've come. And then you can go, yes, I did that. Okay, so it's about writing it down. It's not about showing anybody, you don't have to show anybody what you write. That's yours, that's personal. But it's a record for you, so you can see how far you've come, you can see what you've done. And you can look back and go, yes, I did that. I really did that.
I burnt mine because I was worried about other people reading them.
Well, you can do that if you wanted, but I would say wait until you kind of feel like that wait until you feel like you don't need them anymore, because people like to look back and see where they've come from. I mean, if you want to burn it, that's a personal thing. That could be quite cleansing for you. So, that's a personal choice. If you wanted to burn it, that's up to you. Because like I say, it can be quite cleansing to burn things like that. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. As you go through these prompts, be aware of how you respond. Here are some tips to keep you moving forward on your shadow work journey. Keep an open mind. Practice self-compassion. Be patient with yourself, both during the exercise and throughout your journey. That's a big one, I think. You need to be patient with yourself. It's not going to happen overnight. it will take time to get everything out and to really feel better about yourself. Okay, so be patient with yourself. Carve out time to focus on your shadow work rather than multitasking. So just find a day, find a time each day, every evening or every morning. Set time every time. If you want to do it once a week, do it once a week. If you want to do it every day, do it every day. So for me, I would probably set some time, probably every other day, to write about, because not a lot happens around here. I'll be writing the same old all the time, but not a lot happens here unless something does happen. Then I'll write about it. But doing shadow work, you need to put time to the side for you to do it. Okay. And take time to reflect on your progress. Like I was just saying, when you write it down, you can look back and reflect on things. You can see how far you've come. Okay, so take time to go back and see how far you've come. Maybe like once a month or something, just go, right, well, let's see how far I've come this time. And you just read through it and you can go like, wow, and you'll probably even surprise yourself. Okay, so doing shadow work can be hard work, emotional and draining, but doing it on your own can be daunting. Going through it with others can help you keep going. It's important to keep up the motivation and working with friends. You can keep each other going on your journey. Remember to be kind to yourself on your journey and keep going. Wow. Told you it was going to be a heavy one, didn't I? So how's everybody feeling about that? Laura?
Yeah, I think I need to start writing some of my stuff down.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get myself and for me, I'm so busy, but it's about making time.
Yeah.
Finding time, making the time. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to force yourself to make time to do this.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's important, it's important because, you'll find things about yourself that you didn't know. You'll think, wow, that's me.
Mm.
So it is important to find time for yourself to be able to do this.
To evolve, really.
Yes, definitely. And shadow work, like I say, it helps get rid of things that you feel, the feelings that you've got trapped inside of you. You need to release them because it'll just make you feel really crappy and it makes you feel a bit agitated or whatever. So yes, set time for yourself to do this. I mean, if you want to just do it once a week, you can start doing it once a week, and then eventually you can do like once every other day, and then go to like every day or whatever. Do it how you feel resonates with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's 5 minutes, like you say, baby steps.
Yes.
It's
And those
better than
5 minutes
nothing.
may, eventually those 5 minutes may evolve into 10 minutes and then into 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, like I said, baby steps, and, try answering some of those questions, see how you go.
Yeah.
Take a journal to the loo instead of the phone to play games.
Yeah. Okay, Justine, how do you feel about all that?
I definitely need to do it.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with motivation, but that's down to depression. So,
I
and
mean,
my
I've got to say, you only live around the corner from me, so if you wanted to do it with me, we can both do it together. Set a time each week to do it together.
yeah, it would be nice to see more of you, and
Yeah.
I know it's going to be very emotional for me. The tablets that I'm on, I find tablets for depression, the one thing they do is they shut down your emotions.
Yeah. So you've got to find a way of being able to get around that.
I know I can cry.
Yeah.
And I know I can get angry.
Yeah.
Those are two emotions that I do know I have. I think this is going to be very tearful experience.
It's going to be good. I mean, like I said in the beginning, it can be very therapeutic and it can be very spiritual.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thing is,
I mean, obviously we'll talk. We'll text at a later date, and we can organise a regular day for you to come round and a regular day and time, and we can sit and do it together.
Yeah, I think I might go for like A4 pad of paper because,
Or even
and then,
that notebook that I got you for Christmas.
well, I just think there's so much. It's going to take so much paper to do all this that if I
That
get a
doesn't matter though,
file,
does it? I mean, if you run out, if you run out of, if you run out on your notebook, just get another notebook.
yeah, I'm just thinking of an A4 file with A4 line cheats in it and just keep adding and adding and adding.
Well, if you wanted to do it that way, you could. I mean, I have this book here which I bought a while back. I've got this here, and it's got a little ribbon on it. So I'm going to be using that. I think I
Yeah,
got it from B&M's before Christmas. I got it from B&M's, I do believe. So I've decided I'm going to use that. I mean, it's not got a lot of pages, but if I run out, I can always get another one.
yeah, I do like notebooks.
Yeah, I have a few. I have different notebooks for different things around my home. It's like, oh God. So yeah,
I get given them as presents.
guilty.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I
you can
just
never have too
realised.
many notebooks.
But yeah, feel free to buy more notebooks for me because I really think I'm going to need them.
Yeah,
Can I just say, you have to be careful with some antidepressants because they will make you more depressed.
yeah. Because obviously
So having
each
a review
depression,
on what you're taking is a good
yeah,
idea.
it affects different people in different ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm always thinking about my past. I live in the past because of how I feel now, and because of what's going on in my personal life. It all harks back to the past, and it's still going on. So I'm. That's why I'm
Yeah,
depressed.
I know.
But
I know exactly what you mean because obviously, we've
yeah,
spoken
so
personally
it's an ongoing
about it quite a
thing.
few.
But
I think was it last year or something, wasn't it?
yeah, but I need to. I need to. Um, understand myself
Yeah.
and try and
Doing
build
shadow
a
work will
build
bring
a
that out.
happier person where I'm not focusing on the negative and the negative stuff that's happened and the negative stuff that is still happening, even though I have distanced myself as much as I can from
Yeah,
it and from people, you
yeah.
know.
Well, like I said, we can do it together. I mean, like I said, we'll sort out a regular day and time for you to come
Yeah,
round. We'll have a cuppa, and then we can sit and do some shadow work together.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Right. Well, like I said, we'll sort that out privately. Okay, Justine.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Right, Tracy.
I'm good.
Well, I know you missed some of the prompts that I was going through, but from what you've heard, how are you feeling about doing shadow work?
Yeah, because we've got that booklet thing anyway, haven't we, that we're
Yeah,
already doing.
yeah. So, it's always good. Like I say, you can do it by yourself, but sometimes, if you do things by yourself, you lose motivation. So doing it with a friend it's always good to find a friend or a family member to do it with. Um,
It's a form of energy, isn't it?
sorry?
Your shadow. Your shadow is a form of energy.
Yeah. And it's about trying to control that energy, trying to control what it's doing. It's like taking control of your life, really.
Yeah.
Taking control of your shadow self is about taking control of your life, taking control of your personality.
Do you know what I'm noticing the more I enter into this witchcrafty world is that a lot of the stuff, techniques and things that are used in witchcraft is basically there's other names for it now that have become more socially acceptable. So if you're like do visualization during spells or whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of like mindfulness.
Yeah.
And shadow work is
Yeah,
like
it's kind
dealing
of like
with
a meditation kind of thing.
Yeah, and people have said to me, you know, well, you do this and it's witchcraft, and I'm saying, yeah, but that's also mindfulness. It's just because witchcraft is not socially acceptable. We've come up with these other names for these techniques that make them accepted now.
But the thing is, you know, if people start saying to you about witchcraft, just say to them that, you know, when you blow candles out on your birthday cake and make a wish, that's witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's in our lives, but people don't realise it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's candle magic. So
that's why they always say never say you wish.
You're
yeah.
making him.
So is everybody good with this shadow work? Is there any? I mean, if any of you are struggling, and it also goes to those who are watching this on replay. If you need any help, if you need any advice or anything, let me know. You know, let me know privately, and you know, I'll assist you as well. You know, any way I can. Okay. You ladies okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is it the
Not a
last
problem.
week next week, Sam?
Sorry?
Is it last week next week?
Yes, we're doing journaling next week.
All right, that's a good link in.
Yeah, because obviously if we're doing journaling next week, that will help you with doing your shadow journaling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, next week is our last week. That's come around quick, hasn't it?
It has. Wow.
So next week I'm probably going to do the same with the rooms and just record the session for people to look back on. Okay?
Yeah.
Because Facebook are arseholes.
They need to do shadow work.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't miss this week.
Yeah.
Probably for a reason, Justine.
It's very apt.
Yeah. And I think, you know, through, like I said before, you know, this is going to be quite a heavy session. I mean, last week was quite a heavy session, wasn't it, with the spiritual awakening? And I just knew this is going to be another one. But next week we'll be doing about journaling, different types of journaling, how to do it, and all that kind of thing. And like your benefits you get from journaling. Okay.
Great stuff.
Right.
Well, night, everybody. I'm off
Right.
to bed
I shall
now.
see you all. I shall catch you all next week.
Take care.
Yeah, you guys
Have a
too.
good week.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Good night.